Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing a Legends Fest Q&A video. I posted a thread over here on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. We have 623 replies here. Sometimes I like doing these kinds of videos where you can just like put it in the background while you're doing something else. Don't even have to look at the screen while you have this in the background. Just, you know, something to have on while you're multitasking or doing something else. So we're going to go through as many as we can in a reasonable amount of time. I don't want this to be like a 3-hour long video, but I'm shooting for like an hour or something for this. So we'll go through as many as we can here, and we'll just go in the order that it shows for me here. So the first one we have is from Bebop. What's your take on potential what-if units coming to Legends? Would it be better? Would it be for better or worse? Okay, so I made this thread before we had the details for Goku and Bardock, but it was still pretty obvious that it was going to be Goku and Bardock. So now that we have Goku and Bardock, I think the concept of what-if characters is good. You know, exploring different combinations, and this is something that they can leverage, especially with how they've structured their story mode, right? Where you have all these different characters coming in from different times of the series, different arcs, different sagas. We have like Ultimate Gohan meeting up with Cell Saga Gohan, those two Gohans together. So there's a lot of different combinations that you can have of characters that obviously wouldn't normally have been able to meet with each other. And so I think that's a good thing. I think that conceptually moving forward, we can see a lot of different combinations that we wouldn't have normally been able to see. The only thing I don't like about the actual execution of the what-if character that we got with Goku and Bardock is the fact that, number one, the banner is really bad. They made the banner just absolutely... I don't even... There's no excuse that I can come up with for why the banner is like that. It is like the worst thing ever. I would call it, because I mentioned this in a few prior videos, I would call it the single worst major celebration banner we've ever received. It is really, really bad. So that's something I definitely would, you know, hope that they would change moving forward. And maybe make a little bit more of a convincing story. Like, yeah, base Goku and Bardock take down Final Form Frieza. I don't think so. But it's all for good fun, I guess, at the end of the day. So it's fine. Again, I do like the concept of these what-if characters. So we'll have to see how they handle them moving forward. As the first one, I think they did a good job with the actual character and the unit itself, but the banner is just so bad. And the fact that they also only released them as like the only new character on the banner besides the EXs, that's also really bad. So if they're going to be doing these what-ifs moving forward, something else I would say as well is if they're going to do a scenario like their original story mode that they did with this character, where it's Goku and Bardock versus Frieza, the character that they're fighting has to have a new sparking character. So in this instance, they would have needed to release a sparking Frieza. Like, let's just say, for example, there's like a Dragon Ball Super Trunks that teams up with Cell Saga Gohan that fights Cell. If they did that as a what-if character, I would want Cell I would want a version of Cell as a sparking character. We need to have both of those characters that are in that original story, you know, event represented as new characters. Unfortunately, they didn't do that, so that's a bad thing about this what-if character release, but we'll see what they change moving forward. I did see this comment already. Somebody actually leaked the 2024 schedule. It's pretty good. So it's just every single month is either future Universe Survival Saga or movies. Sounds about right to me. What's your favorite meta in Legends history from Dokkan Assets? Favorite meta in Legends history? I mean, the only one off, like, so I'm just thinking on the top of my head, the only one that like just comes shooting to the front of my mind is the first anniversary meta. That one, and honestly, if you want me to be completely honest, the one we have right now is very good. That is at least up there in terms of one of the best metas. And all it comes down to really is just how many viable teams are there that exist. Like, Androids is a team, Lineage of Evil is a team, Movies is a team, Future is a team, God Key is a team, Universe Reps is a team. Like, there's so many teams that are, you know, at least usable right now. So I would say this meta is very good. But again, thinking back throughout the history of the game, the first anniversary meta comes to the front of my mind very fast. So I would just default answer with that one. But honestly, the one we have right now is really good. Jordan, what do you think your biggest gamer moment has been during Legends Fest? The biggest gamer moment is definitely showing up with 200,000 CC to summon on a banner. When you think of modern gaming, that's got to be it. Modern gaming, just showing up with like 1 billion paid currency. That's what gaming is now, right? Tag Frieza and Cooler when? Yeah, I really want that. I mean, now that we know that we're getting what-if characters, that's for sure something that's coming. Everybody wants to see that. I don't think there's anybody that doesn't want to see a Frieza and Cooler dual unit. Do you think they'll pull the trigger on LF Ultras or Part 3, or for Part 3, or do you still think it's too soon? I don't think it's too soon. If we get to Part 3 and in the reveal they show a Legends Limited Ultra character, I actually wouldn't be surprised at all. I think it's only a matter of time, and I've mentioned this before too. I think I even said this as early as last Legends Fest. I said it's only a matter of time before this happens. And I would not be surprised if this was it. It could be now, it could be during 6th anniversary, it could be during next Legends Fest, I don't know. But I think it's just a matter of time before we get Legends Limited Ultras. And I don't think now is too early. I think if I had to bet on when we would see this, I would probably place my bet. I would probably place my bet on anniversary. And the reason why I say that is because we have gone through Ultra Super Vegito, Ultra Super Gogeta, Ultra Vegito Blue, Ultra Gogeta Blue. What is the next way they can re-release Super Vegito, Super Gogeta, Blue Vegito, and Blue Gogeta? You make a new denomination, and that denomination would be Legends Limited Ultras. So for the 6th anniversary, would anybody be surprised if we got a Legends Limited Ultra Super Vegito? I know I wouldn't be. So I think that's a way that they can release a new but different kind of Super Vegito and stuff like that. So I think it's only a matter of time. Would I be surprised if it was during this month? No, I wouldn't be surprised, but we'll see. Just a prediction, the 2 hints we got basically indicated that Bardock and Goku are the Part 2 characters, however their silhouettes are like an Ultra character. Okay, so yeah, I did make this thread before we knew the details of the character. So he's saying, would you think they'll drop the Ultra now and release the first ever Ultra Legends Limited? So I just talked about my thoughts on Ultra Legends Limited. We obviously know that Goku and Bardock are just now left normally. And I don't think they're going to change that format, by the way. So like Part 1, LF, Part 2, LF, and then Part 3, Ultra. I think we've seen obviously some adjustments being made to when they drop the dual LF banners. So for Anniversary, the dual LF banner was for Part 2. For Legends Fest, the dual LF banner was for Part 1. Doesn't really matter, but both Part 1 and Part 2 are just the parts that are focused on LFs. And they always save the Ultra character for last. And I don't really see them changing that format because it's worked for them, right? They literally, during Anniversary, they hit top grossing in like a lot of countries with Ultra Vegito Blue dropping. Now, I guess you could make the argument, would that have changed if they made him Part 1? Probably not. I don't think it would have had that big of an impact on it, but I think it does actually mean a lot that even as the end of the Anniversary, Ultra Vegito Blue hit top grossing in a lot of countries. Like that's very, because they still made a lot of money with Parts 1 and 2. So yeah, I do think that they're going to stick with this format moving forward. At least that's my opinion. Yeah, here's Iron Cane. When do you think we'll be able to reduce our equipment space? All this extra room is making me anxious. Yeah, amazing idea. Let's just get rid of our space. I have so much spare space. I don't know what to do with it. Any idea on what they could add to the battle system to prevent the game from being float simulator, since quick attack didn't really affect it much? Yeah, I mean, I could say that I saw this coming, but I'm sure everybody watching this video could say the same thing. I remember distinctly when they put in the news that they were changing the battle system, and that one of the changes in the battle system was to make quick attack do more damage. And they even said the reason was because they wanted to curb passive gameplay. I remember the instant I saw that, the first thing I said was, this is not going to work. That's not the problem. Like, I don't think they understand what the problem is. It's the fact that you like quick attack is I guess it's fine. I would say that quick attack actually didn't achieve its goal in curbing passive gameplay. I would say overall, quick attack has been a failure. I would say that the mechanic of quick attack being implemented as a way, as a tool to promote aggressive gameplay has failed in that role. It has failed. So the question is, how do they fix that? How do they make it achieve its goal? And so I'll just reiterate the same exact thing that I said when I made that video going over the potential, well, not potential, but going over the new battle system changes. I said they have to make it easier to initiate a combo after landing a quick attack than it is right now. Because after the first combo of the fight, you go for a quick attack and you want to follow it up. There's like, if you're fighting a player who knows what they're doing or a good player, there's like a very high % chance that like you just get rushed or you get blast armored or you get blue carded or something. Like so there's too high of a risk for the offensive player to be countered by going for a follow up off of a quick attack than it is to actually go for that follow up. Like the payoff is too small. So they have to create some additional, I don't know the best way to describe it. They have to create some additional incentive for actually landing a quick attack to where you can then follow up the quick attack with something. And I think I actually saw somebody mentioning this, and I've mentioned this before as well, but maybe turning it into some kind of long range tackle where you have like a split second to counter or to follow up the tackle with like a strike or a blast or connect it with a combo somehow. Just like how you're able to do with the tackle. So if you tackle from mid-range and you land the tackle, the tackle successfully hits the opponent, you have like a split second to follow it up with a strike or a blast, right? And I think they could do a similar thing with long range as well. So honestly, just get rid of quick attack and replace it with like a long range tackle. I think that would be better for the game. Other things they could do, I remember mentioning this years and years and years ago, but if they really can't think of anything to do, I would say maybe add some kind of punishment system where if you don't initiate an action for like 5 counts, your character starts to lose ki or lose vanish or something like that. I think now that I think about that, I think a better way to do that would be to include that effect on a character. So for example, you I don't know, let's just make it up. There's a new cell, Ultra Cell releases. And one of Ultra Cell's abilities is if the opponent does not initiate an action, and by an action it could be anything. Doesn't quick attack, doesn't use an arts card, doesn't go for a tap attack or anything in like 4 counts or 5 counts, then they lose vanish or something. I don't know. That could be something they do. And so instead of making it like a fundamental battle system change, they could add it as part of a character's kit. And that character individually could be used as a way to have the opposing player be force them to be aggressive or force them to be proactive. So that's one thing. I think one thing that for sure needs to be changed is tap attacks. Tap attacks are just way too slow. Dude, you go for a tap attack, your character winds up and throws the ki blast, and like there's such a high risk that you get caught in the opponent doing something that I would say oftentimes tap attacking from long range is not worth it. But that's going to get to my final point about this, and that's just the fact that Perfect Vanish is such a bad mechanic for the game. I would say the biggest culprit of promoting passive play is Perfect Vanish. And I have repeatedly said this, probably for 2 years now, that Perfect Vanish is a really, really bad thing for the game. And I actually don't know why they don't think about like at least adjusting it, or if not straight up removing Perfect Vanish. I think it's hilarious how they added an indication that made it more obvious when you got a Perfect Vanish instead of removing Perfect Vanish. If you think about it, why would, if you have a mechanic, and this is the exact same argument I've been using for 2 years about Perfect Vanish. If you have a mechanic that is the best defensive mechanic in the game, while simultaneously being the best offensive mechanic in the game, why would you go for another strategy? The answer is you wouldn't. Perfect Vanish is probably the single most powerful ability in the game besides like Rising Rush. Perfect Vanish, because you're avoiding the enemy's attack while simultaneously starting a combo on them at the same time. It is way too strong. And so that mechanic in combination with tap attacks not being strong enough or not being fast enough, I think is what's leading to the passive gameplay. And this is not something that is new. It's been in the game for a very, very long time. So I hope they revisit this. I hope I think moving forward, what I want them to do the most is rethink their philosophy or reconsider their philosophy on quick attack. I think quick attack has accomplished nothing. Honestly, I think it's accomplished nothing. I think it's a worthless mechanic. I do. Okay, we talked about that for long enough. Do you think combos should last as long as they do? And how would you customize Shallot or design Shallot to make him competitive if you were to redo his kit or a new form? I think combos should last. Okay, so let's 2 questions. Let's break this down. So do I think combos should last as long as they do? I mean, there's certain characters that are bigger offenders of this than others, of course. The biggest one right now, for sure, is Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta. And then Vegito Blue as well sort of fits into that same bucket too. Like, there are some characters where like they start combos and you might as well just put your phone down. That is not fun to me. I think something that if I was a developer of the game, something I would be looking at is the amount of interaction spent by both players throughout a game. And what that means is, how often are both players initiating actions on the screen throughout a match? If it's like heavily skewed towards one person as opposed to the other player, then that's not a good balance. I think what you want to have is you want to have both players given a relatively equal amount of time to make decisions and make plays throughout a match for the match to be, or for the game to be fun. Now, obviously, it's going to depend on, one person is just completely dominating the fight and the other person's not dominating the fight at all, and that obviously is going to have an impact on how many actions somebody inputs throughout a match. But one of the statistics that I would look at as a developer, I don't know if they actually have the power to look at this right now, or with the current way that they can operate on the back end, but throughout a match, how interactive is the match for both players? If you have one person who's just comboing the other person for like literally 80 counts straight, like that's obviously going to be super boring for the person getting comboed the entire match. And honestly, at that point, the other person will probably just forfeit the match, right? I mean, there's no point in playing the game at that point. So the point that we're at right now with combos, I have for a while now been in the camp that we need better, stronger defensive characters. And I think I'm probably still in that area right now. The biggest way that characters are able to defend is not through bulk or anything like that. It's just disrupt, mostly. It's disrupt, and okay, here's where we get to a controversial point too. It's not just only through even disrupt either at this point, because we've been through characters like Blue Zamasu who reduce so much ki that you don't even get to play the game. But now we've sort of power crept that as well. We've power crept card destruction too. So we're at the point now where it's like the only characters that are able to tank are characters that have a revive, are characters that have a unique gauge that doesn't care about cover nullification, or characters that have indestructible. Obviously with Goku and Bardock now they have that new indestructible mechanic. So I actually would say that with those new mechanics in the game, well, not technically new because revive isn't a new mechanic, but with those mechanics that exist and with those being the only characters that can tank pretty much, they should, I think, go back and sort of give stronger defensive characters the tools to straight up disrupt characters instead of having to rely on those mechanics. Like, we shouldn't have to rely on revive to be able to tank. We shouldn't have to rely on a unique gauge to be able to tank. I find Janemba's unique gauge to be one of the most toxic things they've ever released. It's just not fun, really. So I think I probably would say that combos are a little bit too long still, but it's not so much of a fault of the offensive units. It's more so of just the fact that they refuse to give us like good traditional defensive characters. And then the second question is, how would I customize Shallot or design Shallot to make him competitive if I were to redo his kit or a new form? So the thing with Shallot is a character that they're going to be able to rework every now and then. He's going to be relevant for like not that long, and then he's just going to get power crept like every other character is. So if they really wanted to make Shallot like a relevant character that has longevity, they'd have to sort of give him some other tools that are able to evolve with the game. So obviously you can choose his blue card right now. You can have his blue card be taught from other characters that you have. I guess they could sort of implement a way to have Shallot maybe like learn a green card. Maybe you can port over a part of like some other character's unique abilities to him or something. I don't really know if there's a feasible way to get him to be competitive and not get power crept, right? So it's a tough answer. They'd have to completely I think they'd have to completely rework the way that his unique abilities are, and give you the ability to sort of customize his unique abilities. But I don't know if that's really feasible for them. If I had control of Dragon Ball Legends for 1 week, what would I do? I would add more equipment space. And what is your one Dragon Ball character that is not in the game yet that you want them to add? Monsters Arbonne. Boom. Done. Do I think that Legends experimenting with game exclusive characters means that they could potentially add heroes units to the game? I don't think that they were ever really like restricted from adding heroes characters to the game. I don't really know how the licensing with that works, but I imagine that because like other games like Dokkan could add them, that it wouldn't be that hard for Legends to do it. But if I was to say, does the addition of game exclusive characters increase the likelihood that they add heroes characters to the game, I'd probably just say yes. They are comfortable now with giving us characters outside of the main canon of the game or the main, series, including GT and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I would say that there is a possibility that we get heroes characters, but you guys have to remember that in comparison to like Dokkan, it takes way longer to make characters in Legends. So they'd have to really sit down and decide, is it worth us doing this? Because it's gonna ultimately what it's gonna come down to is you guys want to see like an LF of a character that is a mainstay, like I don't know, let's just say like Z Broly. Do you want to see an LF of Z Broly, or should we not do Z Broly and instead do a heroes character? So that's ultimately what it's going to come down to. So it's going to come down to them making that decision on the back end and determining whether or not it's worth it for them to do that or not. What mechanic do you think would shake up the meta the most? Something like nullifying, revival, lock-in, etc. At this point, I might just say locking unique gauges. But I am somebody that's very against locking anything. I don't like the concept of removing options from players. I think players having as many options as they can available to them creates a more interactive game experience for this game. So like Goku and Frieza switching in and locking your entire hand, like that's just not fun. Goku and Frieza switching in, deleting your entire hand, locking your Rising Rush, and locking your main ability, like that, like you just don't get to play the game. Like that's not fun. So I'm completely, and I probably always will be like this. I'm completely against all locking abilities. That includes locking main abilities. That includes locking Rising Rush. That includes locking cards, sealing cards. I'm against all of that. I think all of those mechanics are lazy game design. But in terms of what mechanic would hypothetically be the most impactful in the meta right now, I think it would be some kind of unique gauge lock. But I hope they don't add that. I don't. How would I redo the equipment upgrade? Also, opinion about the actual method to upgrade the equips. How I would redo the equipment upgrade? I mean, I don't know if I would even redo it. I would just make it way easier to roll equips. I feel like it is actually absurd how bad the equipment system is. I think the one part of the equipment system that needs to be changed the most, and I'm not saying that the entire system doesn't need to be changed, but the part that needs the most focus right now and the most attention from the developers right now is easily going to be Awakened equipment. Awakened Equipment is probably the single worst system in any game I've ever played. It is terrible. I don't even know how it made it through internal testing. It is so bad. So I hope they look at Awakened Equipment. For Awakened Equipment in particular, I think they could definitely give us some way to roll the first slot. Just because the way that the Awakened Equipment is structured right now, you are able to awaken equipment via the rush medals. You buy the memories, I think is what they're called, the memories of the Awakened Equipment from the rush medal shop. And then you can, create Awakened Equipment. The problem is you can't infinitely farm the rush medals. There's only a finite amount of rush medals you can get for clearing the stage per week. Or per 2 weeks, I guess. Because it's usually up for 14 days before it resets. And so once you've exhausted all of your rush medals for the memories, you can't do any more Awakened Equipment. And so the fact that it's not infinitely farmable content is what inherently makes it bad. So I would add some kind of reroll first slot ability for Awakened Equipment in particular. And then for all other equipment, I would just make it way easier to roll each slot. It's just way too tough. It makes no sense. All right. Next. If we get another tag buffed up as hard as the Ginyu Force was, which would you prefer to be? Honestly, Android 18 and 19 running around PvP with whatever third unit they drop with them would be pretty cool, or Zarbon and Dodoria. I'd probably just say GT. GT is like... it's honestly... GT is a meme. Like, if you're a GT main, I'm sorry, but your team is a meme. It's just like... We're an entire year since they got touched, because we got the tag 4s and then purple 17 plus the Zenkai for Alice Super Saiyan 4 Goku. It's now been over a year since the team has seen a single update, and that's not like unusual either. GT is a team that frequently goes like 10 plus months in a row without getting a single update. So GT definitely needs something. We still haven't gotten the Spirit Bomb Goku, which I think is a good like part 2 of Anniversary or Legends Fest, and they decided to go this time with a game original character, Goku and Bardock. But again, I think that that GT Spirit Bomb Universal Goku would be a good pick for like a part 2 of Anniversary or Legends Fest. So we'll see. And then obviously, a lot of people really want to see Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, which is going to happen at some point, if not during this celebration. In your opinion, there's a huge gap between the new units. The TOP boys are insane, but you need to know what you're doing to get out of their to get out their max potential. While Beast just autopilots. Lost so many matches to him just one-shotting my team with no counterplay. What do you think? So upon initial use, I thought that Beast was clearly better. But like once we got into like the second week of Festival, I saw the potential that the Goku and Vegeta have, and I would say that there's not really. I wouldn't say there's a huge gap between the two. I would not. I think they're different characters. I think both are characters that want to have the team built around them. But I think Gohan is more of a selfless character, even though Gohan is pretty selfish, but Gohan is more of a selfless character because he is supporting blast attack. He is lowering sub count. He is healing the team with his unique gauge before he transforms. While the Goku and Vegeta really don't do much except for build up their own unique gauge and benefit themselves. But you get that Goku and Vegeta character going, and if you're at the point where you have both of their unique gauges filled up and you have the 100% charge rate bonus for their unique gauge, I don't think there's another character in the game that touches them at that point. I think that they're just way too strong. What are your genuine thoughts on the possibility of Legends Limited Ultras? I already mentioned this. Again, I think it's going to happen at some point. Could it be Part 3 is our first Legends Limited Ultra? Would not surprise me, but if I had to guess, I would say 6th anniversary. What's your favorite team currently other than LOE? It's definitely not LOE right now. I think LOE, we need a third character for LOE, but my favorite team right now would probably have to be transforming Beast Gohan, Pikkon, and Orange Piccolo, because it just completely shuts down Janemba, and Janemba sucks. What was your favorite reveal ever for a unit? Favorite reveal ever? Dude, it's impossible to answer. I really liked, obviously, Gogeta Blue. The thing with Gogeta Blue's reveal is part 2 last year was so bad that we were all just praying that part 3 was going to be something mega hype, and it was. But we kind of were expecting it. And then the same thing for the anniversary too, this last anniversary where we had the Vegito Blue. I really liked the drones, of course. This is a tough question to answer because it's going to depend on like what aspect you like the most. I would probably have to just say first anniversary when they showed Vegito for the first time, Super Vegito. The first anniversary showdown, and then they had like the silhouette of the character, and the game director came on and like used Vegito against the winner. I don't think they're gonna top that. I mean, I just don't think so. That was great. I think personally for me, first form LF Frieza was a really strong reveal. I did not expect them to have like the neck chop cover change animation. That's like my favorite scene in Dragon Ball. Of course, Beast Gohan. I don't think anybody was expecting the first blue Beast Gohan to drop. Honestly, we weren't even expecting the red Beast Gohan to drop either. So that was pretty... I mean, there's a lot of really good reveals, but if I had to narrow down to one, it would probably be the first anniversary reveal. For sure. With the part 2 unit potentially being Bardock and Goku, what other what-ifs would I like to see? So yeah, of course, we'd have Frieza and Cooler as one. That's a given. What about like... I don't know what to think about. What about like TOP 17 and Super 17? Dude, there's so many. There's so many. I don't know. GT Goku and Dragon Ball Kid Goku. We could do like 2 different versions of Goku would be interesting. What if we did like Vegeta, a Vegeta from like GT with Vegeta from the Saiyan Saga? Or what about Majin Vegeta and like Saiyan Saga Vegeta? There's a lot. I mean, obviously Vegito and Gogeta is like anniversary level. Like Super Vegito and Super Gogeta as a tag character. That'd be crazy. There's so many. I mean, there's a million that I can't even think of. Like this opens up so many possibilities. There's actually like hundreds of combinations that they could do with these what if tag characters. So we'll see. We'll see. How would I feel about an Ultra Fusion Zamasu for this Legends Fest Ultra? I would give it a low chance. How would I feel about it? It would be the first... You know what's funny about that is it would be the first like villain / powerful opponent major celebration release that's a headlining character since Merge Zamasu for the 3rd anniversary. So he would have been the last one that we've gotten as like a powerful opponent headlining character. I would probably be a little disappointed, so just a little bit. I'm obviously a huge villain guy, so I'd be happy that they're actually giving representation to a villain. But I feel like if they're gonna do a villain as an Ultra, it's got to be Frieza. The most iconic villain, the most popular villain by far. Like, it's not close. Like he's by far the most popular villain in the series. Like it's not. It's between him and Broly, but Frieza's he clears Broly. Unfortunately for the Broly fans, Frieza is the most popular villain by far. He would sell the best as a villain. And the fact that we went through the Frieza Saga campaign, we got no new Friezas. All they did was they gave us the Zenkai for LF Power Frieza, who's terrible. Then we had the What If portion of Legends Fest, Part 2, Goku and Bardock, who fought against Frieza. They gave us a free-to-play Frieza, and then they gave us an EX Frieza. Terrible. Like, what? Hello? When is this gonna happen? Can we get like a LF at least? But yeah, I would hope it would be free. But if it actually ended up being Fusion Zamasu, I'd be fine with it. I wouldn't be super like, oh my god, this is a sick. Like I wouldn't be that. I wouldn't be at that level, unfortunately. Let's see here. Do I think releasing farmable LF free-to-play characters would be a good idea? I think during major celebrations, instead of receiving normal fierce fight characters would be nice. The budget doesn't need to be extra high, but at least something cool to have. Also a proper guild chat. I don't think they're ever going to add. They're never going to add guild chat, unfortunately. But okay, so free-to-play LF characters could be good. I think the way they'd have to do it though is they would give us a copy and paste. So for example, it would be a copy and paste of like all the normal animations, but then like just the LF would be new, I guess is how I'd say they'd do it. So if they gave us, for example, I don't even know what like a free-to-play Deborah or something. I don't know. Let's just say they gave us a free-to-play Deborah. He would just be a copy and paste of the Deborah we already have, but then he would just have a new LF animation where like he turns the opponent to stone and they just like break or something. I don't know. That would be his LF. I could see that, but that's about it. What is your opinion on the state and health of the game right now? So there's two ways I mean, when he says this, I'm assuming he just means like the PvP environment, which is basically what drives the health of the game, in my opinion. I think there's two ways to look at it. The first way, and I think I've talked about this before, the first way is a macro view, which is basically taking a look at how many teams are being used, what's the diversity, how much, how often do you run into different teams, different characters. And then there's a micro view, which is taking a look at individual characters. So like, how annoying is this character to fight? Stuff like that. I think from a macro perspective, the meta's in a really good spot. I think there's a lot of different viable teams. Honestly, you could probably make the argument we've never had a meta with more viable characters and viable teams than we have right now. I think the meta's in a really, really good spot from a macro perspective. But from a micro perspective, I would say that there's well, I don't know if I would say there's a lot of characters, but there's a few that are super annoying. Super annoying to fight. And the number one offender is Janemba. At least for me. I absolutely hate fighting Janemba. I think he's like one of the most toxic characters they've ever released. Like, actually. Such a stupid character. I hate, like, honestly, his unique age might be like a top 3 most hated ability ever that they've ever released. It's just so annoying. I hate Janemba. It's one of the most annoying characters to fight. So even though the game is in a good spot from a macro view, where you have a lot of viable teams, a lot of viable characters, a lot of those viable teams and characters are super annoying to fight against. So I would say that the meta overall is in a good spot, but there's different perspectives you can look at the game from that make it not as good as maybe some other metas we've had before. Is Ultra Vegito Blue one of the better designed units this year? 2 mega powerful blue characters dropped and he's still meta from what I know. More than 2 have dropped. So Ultra Vegito Blue dropped and we got, what, Namek Goku. Goku and Frieza got buffed, which of course the Frieza side is blue. 17 exists. We had Janemba drop. So we've had a lot. Like when VB, so when Janemba dropped, there was literally like 4 to 5 good blues that existed, and VB was still really good. But I don't know if that means he was well designed. That just means he was really OP. That's what that means. There's a lot of aspects of Vegito that I would say are not well designed. Like, I think his green card is just BS. I hate that green card. Like, that fits into what I was just talking about, where he just has annoying abilities about him. Like, that green card, if you know the opponent has a green card in their hand, like, what is your move? You just sit there for the entire match and not attack? Like, it's just so annoying. I hate that they made it so that it counters everything. It's just so stupid. That's really the only super toxic thing about him. I think the vanish removal is pretty bad too. I actually think like removing vanish from your opponent in a proactive way. So like the way that VB does it, where he switches in for the first time, the way that Beast Gohan does it, where he just transforms and he removes your vanish. I think that goes hand in hand with what I was talking about with locking abilities. It's the same thing, because it's basically just locking your vanish. Isn't that what it does? Removing vanish is the same thing as locking your vanish, pretty much. So I'm not really a big fan of that either. So I don't know if I'd call VB well designed, but he's definitely very good, for sure. All right, what is this? What are your thoughts about new what if characters to be introduced? Do you think they have left with no option and characters now they have to bring what if characters in game? And do you think God Goku, Beerus, Kefla, Golden Frieza will ever get to shine with their version of an LF? So I talked about the what if characters already. I think it's a really good thing for the game. I don't think it means they're out of options. I think it just means that they're going to have to redo a lot of the characters we've already received once or more times, which, I mean, take a look at every other Dragon Ball game. They've released multiple versions of every character multiple times. I think characters like God Goku and Beerus and Kefla and Golden Frieza, they'll all get their time at some point. It's just a matter of time. Do you think it would be bad if they dropped Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta the celebration? So it's bad from what perspective is what I would say. Like, in what way would it be bad? I guess it would be bad from the perspective of GT. So here's like the nightmare scenario for GT mains. They drop Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta now, and then GT doesn't get anything for like 6 months. That would be bad if you're a GT player. But it would be really good for Fusion players, right? Fusion Warriors is in a good spot right now. You have Pikkon, you have Super Gogeta, not Super Gogeta, you have Pikkon, you have Blue Gogeta and Blue Vegito. That are 3 really good, solid characters. That's the core of your team. So if they gave us Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta as like a really good 4th character to the team, probably best character in the game, let's be honest. The Ultra that's coming out at the end of this Legends Fest is going to be the best unit in the game. Like, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. At least that's the precedent they've set. So that would be really good for Fusion Warriors. But even if Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta comes out as the Ultra and he's the best character in the game, of course it's going to help GT, but GT needs other characters too. So if they do end up dropping Gogeta, I would actually hope that we get some kind of GT celebration in like January to help him and GT out a little bit. Do I personally want more what if and game original characters rather than remaining characters from moments that have characters for? And if so, how do I think the community would react to it? I think they could just do both. Like, it's not like they only have to now drop what if characters. Like, they could just give us every now and then a what if character, but then they could just go back to doing the normal characters. Like, we need new versions of like we don't have an Ultra Cell in the game. We don't have an Ultra Frieza in the game yet. So they can still give us what if characters, but then they could also continue giving us like normal series characters, right? I think it's a bit too early to tell what the reaction is overall to Goku and Bardock. I think there's way more hype what if characters they can drop in the future. And you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that. What are your thoughts on the Part 3 Ultra? Like I said in my tweets, they better hold on Gogeta because GT isn't getting any buffs to Celebration. Yeah, so again, I don't think that if they dropped Gogeta right now, it would be very good for GT players. And that's honestly, like, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, one of the things that he's accomplishing is he's helping GT, which is a team that just always gets neglected. So I'd rather they at least build GT up a little bit first before they dropped him, or drop him now and then immediately go into a GT celebration. One of those two things is fine. One of those two scenarios is fine. Thoughts on the Part 3 Ultra? So, I mean, we could go down the list of like all possibilities. We could Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. I don't think it's going to be Gohan either, by the way. I am leaning a little bit more towards UI Goku. They spent basically the entire year buffing Universe reps. And it seems pretty fitting to be, not only Universe reps, by the way. Go look at how many Gokus we've gotten this year. Do you guys understand how many Gokus we've gotten? I understand that he's the main character. Goku is the protagonist. Dragon Ball is literally the story of Goku. But we have gotten 5 billion Gokus this year. So we've gotten 1,000,000,000 billion trillion Gokus, and we've gotten universe rep buffs out the wazoo. It would be pretty fitting to me for them to finish the year off with an Ultra UI Goku. And then I am, at that point, really good on universe rep buffs for a long time. We'll see, though. I think there's like a handful of characters they could do that I could see them doing for the Ultra. I think it potentially could come down to if they want to go with Legends Limited Ultras or not. We'll see. But it's on the table at least. What's your overall opinion on the Zenny system? That's interesting. Never really heard you discuss it, and for a while I've been talking about how it holds the game back a lot. Being used for everything makes it miserable. It takes like 100 stamina just to reroll 30 times. I don't have stamina. Yeah, I think the Zenny system is bad. There was one video where I said that the Zenny system is like really bad. I don't remember which one it was, but I have mentioned it at least. But yeah, the cost, the Zenny cost that it takes to do a lot of stuff in the game is way too high. And I think between it's so the two actions that take the most Zenny, at least from my experience, are rerolling equipment and arts boosting. If you guys have ever max arts boosted a character, it takes billions of Zenny. It literally, like, I'm not saying like, oh my god, it takes a billion. Like, it literally takes billions of Zenny. That is the actual number it takes. It literally takes billions of Zenny. So, I think Zenny actually is a pretty big issue with the game right now, and I think they should just do a blanket. I guess it would be a blanket reduction, I guess is the way to phrase it. A blanket reduction in how much Zenny it takes to do like everything in the game. I think that would be my recommendation. But yeah, I agree. I agree that Zenny is a big problem right now. What do I think Legends would do after releasing new Anniversary Fest units on all rarities? Example, LFGB, Ultra GB, LFVB, Ultra VB. Do I personally agree with what I said above? What? If not, how would you personally do it? I'm not sure what he's referring to at the end there, but again, I mentioned this earlier. I think they would just go to the next level. So we've gotten LF Gogeta Blue, we've gotten Ultra Gogeta Blue. Now we just combine them. Ultra LF Gogeta Blue. We've gotten Vegito Blue. We've gotten Ultra Vegito Blue and LF Vegito Blue. Now we do LF Ultra Vegito Blue. That's the next step. Now the question then becomes, what do you do after that? That's years in the future. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that is the logical next step for those characters. Or they could just do different variations, right? So we have an LF Vegito Blue that's just standalone. What if we got a fusing Blue Goku and Vegeta that go into Vegito Blue, right, as an LF? And then they do the same thing as an Ultra. Like, there's ways they can get around just the rarity, sticker on the character. Do I think that Legends Limited Ultra characters will ever come to the game? Oh my god, yeah, a lot of people asking this. So yeah, I'm gonna just say that we've already addressed that. Will I be buying Frieza in Fortnite? The answer to that is no. I do not play Fortnite. What character would you like to see come to Legends next, and why? I think my answer to this is going to depend on what we get for Part 3. Like I said, if it ends up being Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, I would want to see some kind of GT campaign. So maybe, I don't know. LF. I was gonna say LF Oob, but then I thought about it and realized that I have to actually make money on YouTube, so I probably don't want LF Oob. But like, I don't know, LF Omega Shenron could be one. LF Super Baby 2 is one that would really help a lot of teams. So it's gonna depend on what we see as the Part 3 Ultra, and it's also gonna depend on the meta after Part 3 too. So like, what teams need help the most? This has probably been asked before, but would I ever consider live streaming PvP games? So the problem with live streaming, I assume you mean viewer battles. And the problem with viewer battles is if I like put my code on the screen, I will get like 5 million requests. And if you get like too many requests at the same time, it crashes your game. So we can't do that, unfortunately. What new tags should be implemented to the game, like universe reps, for example? I don't think we need more tags. I think the correct answer to this is none. Actually, we don't need more. Like, this is going to become a Dokkan problem, and the problem that exists in Dokkan with too many categories is like you get these really niche categories, and then the leaders end up not being good because the categories are too niche, and then they ended up having to make leader skills that have like 3 categories in them because each category is so small. So I would actually say we don't need any new categories right now, I don't think. If what if units become more of a normal thing to come to the game, what would be one you want the most to come into the game? So I think the one, like number 1 on my list is obviously going to be Frieza and Cooler. One other one I really do want to see, which I highly doubt we're ever going to get, but Kami and Demon King Piccolo could be a really cool one. Obviously, they used to be the same person, same Namekian, the nameless Namekian. I think another cool one would be Piccolo Jr. and Demon King Piccolo. But I don't know. We'll see. Frieza and Cooler's on the table for sure. It's like a shoe-in. Do I think they should do more GT/Dragon Ball Saga celebrations in 2024? They really hammered us with Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball Z. I'm aware that's where all the main hype is. Toned down with those types releases, at least for the monthly LF/Ultras. I mean, it's not... Well, yes. The answer is those make the most money, Super and Z. But it's not only that, it's also the fact that there's the most to pull from Super and Z. Because remember, Z is not just the series. Z encompasses all the movies. And you guys know how much they love buffing movies. Every celebration's a movie buff, secretly. And then Super also has some movies too, right? Superhero, we have Broly, and then you have, you know, a bunch of arcs in there. TOP has like 1 billion characters. The Future Saga, they like Future as well. So it's not just because they're the most hype, but also because there's a lot of characters. But yeah, personally, I would like to see more GT and Dragon Ball stuff as well. I think it's time to help those teams out. And even though we did this year, just, you know, not that long ago, get a Dragon Ball campaign, I think that was probably one of the single worst executed campaigns we've ever received. It was terrible. They did it really bad, and they even admitted it by releasing that equipment. They would not release an equipment that broken. That's the best equipment in the game. if they thought that they did a good job with the Dragon Ball celebration, that equipment was basically an apology. That's how I view it. That equipment that they released was basically an apology for how bad it was handled. All right, we'll do a few more here. Do I think that this Legends Fest has the best Part 1 compared to 2020, 2021, and 2022? I mean, it would just come down to 2021 in this year, right? 2021 was the triple Sparking Rates, triple Z Power, first ever tag Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta, and Sword of Hope Trunks. Was it better than that? It's tough. It's tough to say. I think so. Banner-wise, no. Banner-wise, 2021 was better. But I think in every other aspect, reward-wise, content-wise, like everything about this year's Part 1 Legends Fest, way better than 2021. I think if I had to just compare the Part 1s of Legends Fest, I think I would actually give it to this year's Legends Fest. This Legends Fest Part 1 is about as good as it gets. it's not really going to be better than what it was. I would just give the edge to the banners for 2020. I mean, triple Z power, triple rates. We're probably never going to see that again. Actually, we're probably never going to see that again. But overall, with everything factored in, besides just the banners, I'd probably give it to this year as the best. What are my thoughts on LF Bardock and Goku dropping as a tag unit? Okay, so yeah, obviously this is, again, I posted this before the character was revealed. Are you excited like most people, or does my excitement differ? No, I think it's a good drop. I do like it. They just really did a poor job with the banner. And the fact that there was only just them as the LF character. Do I think there's too much cooler nullifying characters? Or should there be less? Okay, so okay, I'm reading. He meant to say cover nullifying characters. He put cooler by accident. Only putting this because cover change becomes useless late game when every character is just nullifying my cover. I think cover nullification. It's hard to say exactly what the culprit is that started the spiral effect, but like, I think you have to understand that if there was no cover, like if there, well, not only if there was just no cover nullification, but if there was significantly less cover nullification in the game right now, we'd have a lot of matches going to timer. Like, I think the offensive and defensive power level of characters is based around how common it is to have cover nullification in a fight. Like, what is the average uptime of having cover nullification active for the entire fight? I think that's probably a statistic that the balance team I would hope is a statistic that the balance team looks at when they're designing characters. So how offensive do we make? How well offensively do we make this character? How well defensively do we make this character? And a factor that goes into making that decision, I think, is going to be, what is the average uptime of cover nullification in the fight? Because if there was a lot less, on average, cover nullification throughout a fight, I would expect there to be more powerful offensive characters. Because then you could more reliably cover change to fend off those characters from just beating you to hell, right? And then, on the flip side of things, if there was a lot more cover nullification, then I would expect there to be less offensively powerful units, because it's going to be a lot more common for them to just be comboing forever and ever and ever. Like, basically how the Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta are. If you had a character like that who just constantly was able to get cover nullification from just filling up their gauge and using their blue card, like VB2, Ultra Vegeta Blue. If every single character was like that, I would expect the overall offensive power of those characters to be a bit lower than if cover nullification was just non-existent, right? If cover nullification was a lot rarer on characters, we'd have characters doing a lot more damage probably, because you could rely more on cover changing them. But I guess to answer the question, do I think there's too much cover nullification? I think there actually is. Yeah, I think, but again, that is something that they snowballed into, because that's just the natural progression of power creep, right? The natural progression of power creep is just whenever you introduce a new mechanic, you're going to be slowly giving that mechanic to more and more characters. Then you have to find a way to get characters to counter that mechanic, and then it just gets into this back and forth battle that is what we're at now in the game. But I would say, yeah, I think there is probably a little bit too much of that right now. Do I think the introduction of Ultra characters was necessary? Ever since their release, they've been in really bad banners, and it feels like their unique animation selling point is beginning to diminish. Not saying they're bad, just feels like LFs have more value overall. So the question, the actual question here is, do we think the introduction of Ultra characters was necessary? I don't think it was necessary. When you say necessary, what that means to me is, was it necessary to keep the game alive? If they didn't introduce Ultras, would the game have died? The answer is no. I don't think the game would have died if they didn't introduce Ultras. So I don't think it was necessary. But I guarantee you they have done better financially since they have introduced the Ultra rarity. I probably at this point think I would prefer if they didn't exist. From the perspective of me as a YouTuber, Ultras do really well, so I hope they don't discontinue Ultras, which they're not going to. So Ultras do really well for the game financially. They do well for me financially. Overall, it's a win-win. But in terms of actually like how it impacts the health of the game, it seems to me that whenever they release an Ultra character, they like go out of their way to make them super annoying. Most of the cases of Ultras, like not every single one. Like I think Ultra Broly wasn't annoying to fight that much. I don't think Ultra Super Vegeta was that annoying to fight. Hit wasn't like mega annoying, but he has the time skip, which is crazy. But like you take a look at every other Ultra. Kid Buu with the ridiculous green card. You have Rose with the stupid blue paralysis. Janemba with like the most annoying unique gauge of all time. VB with his green card. Like it, you can go on and on and on. Like it feels like every single Ultra character almost has just some super annoying mechanic. So that's the one thing I dislike about them. I think their banners are also really bad. I really hope that at some point soon, hopefully starting with this Legends Fest celebration, they revamp Ultra banners. At least start putting like super old ones back on the banners with those. So like, let's just say as an example, we end up getting Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. Just put Super Gogeta on the banner, man. Just put Ultra Super Gogeta on there. Stop bringing back Ultra Super Gogeta's banner. Nobody, I promise you nobody cares. I promise. Okay, let's do two more. We'll do this one and then one more. As an intermediate dash pro player that started last year, that spends generally around $100 every celebration, what's the best way to grind and be good enough to get the God rank badge? This future team is my best team, would win the most. I would probably say to pick a team that gets updated often and only focus on that one team is the best advice I would give to somebody that really wants to focus on PvP. So for example, Movies is a perfect team. But the thing with Movies is like Movies gets buffed actually too often, to the point where even if you only focused on Movies, you probably like there would be some releases where you'd probably want to skip. That's how often Movies gets buffed. But you said you main Future, or that you think Future is your best setup. So what I would say is pick Future as your focus, and then really try and hold off summoning on a lot of other banners until a good Future character comes out, and then go for them. That would be my advice. And then generally what that means is you'll unfortunately end up skipping a lot of, hype banners with hype characters on them, but you'll have a lot of CC available and resources available to help strengthen your main team. All right, let's do the final one here. So because I believe it's a contest, I think I've answered this already. Because I believe it's a contest, which character do I think is better? Ultimate Gohan or Evolution Blue Vegeta and Blue Kaioken Goku? Also, which do you enjoy using more? So again, I think it's close. I think it's closer than a lot of people think it is. I do think I'd probably give the edge to Beast slightly. And in terms of which I enjoy using more, I gotta say Beast, but it's just because he's Beast. It's not because I like him as a character in the game more in terms of what they're actually doing, but Beast is just Beast, man. The newest transformation in Dragon Ball, essentially, right? Gotta go with Beast. So because I've answered that, let's just do one more. This is the final thing. Do I think they'll buff Future this festival? Last two have had a Future buff. So we only have one more part left. It's part 3. It's going to be an Ultra character. The only character from Future that I could see really fitting as a part 3 Ultra for Fest would be Fusion Zamasu, and even then I probably think it's probably not going to be Fusion Zamasu. Would he be able to carry part 3? Like, I think a lot of people would be disappointed if it was Fusion Zamasu in part 3. I wouldn't be disappointed, but I'd be like, oh yay, Fusion Zamasu. Like I would enjoy it, but dude, there's a lot more hype picks they could choose for part 3, but maybe. All right, so there we go. That's going to conclude the Q&A. We answered a lot of questions. I went through a lot. I did some in-depth responses to some of these, but yeah, look, I mean, we did a lot. We covered a lot here. So let me know down below what you guys think about the Q&A here. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Maybe we'll do another one for part 3. We'll see. And I'll see you all in the next one.